You've probably used an AI like ChatGPT, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder if it's, actually thinking? Or if it could get so good that it could perfectly simulate a human mind? Well, this isn't just science fiction anymore. Researchers have been looking into this exact question, and what they found tells us something really fundamental about what AI is and what it isn't.
I mean, just think about it. What if we could run entire psychological studies using AI participants instead of people? It could save a ton of time, a ton of money, and you could sidestep all sorts of tricky privacy issues. For a little while, some early research made it seem like we were right on the edge of making this reality. The results were, honestly, kind of mind-blowing.
And this is the number that really got everyone's attention. Back in 2023, researchers found a correlation of 0.95 between an AI's moral judgments and those of actual humans. Now, if you know anything about statistics, a correlation that high is, well, it's huge. It basically suggested that when you gave the AI a moral dilemma, it would vote almost exactly the same way a person would.
So, of course, the big question was, did we do it? Have we actually created a perfect digital copy of human moral reasoning? For a minute there, it really seemed like the answer might be yes. As you could imagine, this discovery created a huge wave of excitement. People started thinking, hey, if an AI can copy our judgments this well, maybe we can use it to test out new ideas or even predict how large groups of people will behave. But for a few researchers, something just felt a little off. This perfect copy seemed, well, a little too perfect.
And that led to this sort of investigator's hunch. What if the AI wasn't understanding morality at all? What if it was just getting ridiculously good at recognizing patterns in words? To really get that, we need to take a quick peek under the hood of how these things actually work.
See, at its heart, a large language model isn't sitting there pondering ethics or justice. It's a prediction engine. Simple as that. It has scanned trillions of words from all over the internet, and its one and only job is to ask, okay, based on all the text I've seen before, what word is most likely to come next? It has absolutely no built-in concept of what any of it actually means. I love this analogy that the researchers Schroeder and his team came up with. They said to imagine the LLM has a giant die with billions of sides, and on each side is a different word it knows. The words that are most likely to appear next get more sides on the die. All the LLM does is roll that die again and again to build a sentence. It's an incredibly sophisticated game of probability, not a process of thinking.
And this is the absolute key to the whole thing. The model gets good at predicting what text looks like it should go together, not what it actually means. It's generalizing based on how similar word sequences are, not based on the concepts behind the words. And this exact weakness is what the researchers decided to put to the test.
So if you're trying to prove an AI is just a world-class mimic that doesn't get the meaning, how would you even do that? Well, this team came up with an experiment that was just so simple and so clever.
It's a really elegant three-step process. First, they took those moral scenarios where humans and the AI agreed almost perfectly. Then, step 2, they changed just a word or two. Sometimes it was literally a single letter to completely flip the moral meaning of the sentence. And finally, step 3, they showed these new reworded scenarios to both humans and the AI to see what would happen.
Okay, check this out. This is a perfect example of what they did. The original sentence is about public humiliation, which is obviously pretty unethical. But you change one single letter, from shame to shave, and suddenly the action is neutral, maybe even helpful. The two sentences are almost identical, text-wise, but the meaning is a world apart. A human gets that difference instantly. The big question is, does the AI?
So, how did the AI do on this test? Well, the results are incredibly revealing. This is the exact moment where that mask of understanding starts to slip off, and you see the pure pattern matching machine that's working underneath.
And there it is. That's the visual punchline. So for the original scenarios, they found that same super high correlation, a near perfect 0.99. But for the rewarded ones, the correlation between the human ratings and GPT-4's ratings just fell off a cliff. It dropped all the way down to 0.53. The second the meaning changed, even slightly, the AI's ability to think like a human completely fell apart. And we can actually put a number on that collapse. On a rating scale, the human ratings shifted by an average of 2.20 points when they saw the reworded sentences. That's a huge change. It shows that people clearly understood, whoa, okay, this means something totally different now.
And what about GPT-4? Its ratings barely moved. They only shifted by a tiny average of 0.42.
The model was so focused on the fact that the sentences looked almost the same that it mostly ignored the radical change in what they actually meant. It saw the pattern, but it completely missed the point.
Let's look at a couple more examples because they really drive this home. Humans see a massive moral difference between killing stray cats and killing rats, right? But the LLM rated both as pretty much equally unethical. Even crazier, humans think releasing wrongfully convicted prisoners is a good thing, but releasing rightfully convicted ones is a bad thing. The LLM, again, saw almost no difference. It rated both actions as ethical, probably because the surrounding words like releasing and prisoners were so similar. So, okay, where does all this leave us? Well, it gives us a really important reality check for how we should be thinking about and using these incredibly powerful tools.
The main conclusion from the researchers is crystal clear. Large language models do not simulate human psychology. They can definitely seem like they do, especially when you give them problems that look a lot like their training data. But for that specific, critical job, they're just fundamentally unreliable.
So what does this mean for you when you're using an AI? The paper actually suggests a simple toolkit. First, test it. Change your prompts a little bit and see if the answer stays the same. Second, always double-check its answers with sources you know you can trust. Third, keep a record of exactly what you asked it. And maybe most importantly, treat it like a super smart, incredibly fast, but ultimately flawed assistant, not as an expert that actually understands anything.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. The next time you go to type something into an AI, just ask yourself this. Are you looking for a really sophisticated summary of text patterns that already exist out there, or are you looking for genuine understanding? Knowing the difference, well, that's the whole key to using this technology wisely. So, what are your rules for trusting AI? I'd love to hear them in the comments.